What is pitfire pottery? And how do you make pitfire pots? And what colorants can you use to create these beautiful pitfire pots? Pitfire is, without a doubt, one of the oldest methods of firing clay. So it becomes ceramic, so it becomes useful. For thousands of years, people have found mud, clay in the ground, and they found out if they put it in the fire, it will be hard and it will be useful. It is the original way of doing ceramics. Originally, pitfire was done because that was the only way you could fire ceramics. They didn't have kilns like we do today, electric kilns, gas kilns, and wood-fired kilns. So they only had a bonfire they could put it into. But the pitfire does something magic to pots. They can create these beautiful colors. And that's the primary reason we do it today. It's actually similar to other things that was invented many years ago. I'm sort of a foodie. I like to be in the kitchen. And one of the things that I like to do a lot is fermenting. And fermenting, like smoking or salting meat, is something that was invented years ago because we didn't have fridges, we didn't have freezers. So it was the only way to preserve the food for the winter. But today, lots of people like fermented foods and play around with it, not because we don't have other ways to preserve the food, but because it adds a nice flavor. And that's the same thing with pitfire. I have an electric kiln, I have a ragu kiln, and I have access to gas kilns and wood-fired kilns. I have many options, but still I choose this ancient way of firing because it creates something interesting. Just like many other types of firing, things of course have evolved since they started doing pitfire thousands of years ago. Back then it was probably just a bonfire, they put the pots in there. We have some traditional pots in Denmark called potter. It's a very dark sort of pitfire, totally black almost. And the way they do it is in a bonfire, but then they cover it up and choke the fire, so to speak. And all the carbon from the organic materials attached to the pot, and you get this very beautiful dark color. For a long time, it was used as kitchenware in Denmark, so we cooked food in these. Also, native Indians are well known for their pit-fired pots. They usually raw fire them to take the raw clay, put it into the bonfire, and create these beautiful pots. Sometimes they paint patterns on the pot before using other kind of clays or current materials. But since the old days, things have evolved. We now have different ways to create a bonfire. I use an oil drum. And the reason I do that is it's easier for me to contain and control the fire. And also, I can move it around easily. You can still dig a hole in the ground. That is the original way of doing pitfire. But if I do that in my garden, I can't easily move it around, and it doesn't look so well. With the oil drum, I can move it away when I have guests or I just don't want it at the same location. So the oil drum is just a different way of creating an artificial pit. I would still call it pitfire, even though it's very different from the original way of doing it. It's actually very similar to other kinds of firing. If you look at ragu, the way that ragu was originally done hundreds of years ago in Japan is very different from the way that we do it today. The Americans got a passion for ragu and they developed the technique. We still call it ragu, even though those two things are very different. And some may claim that technically this is not ragu, what the Americans do. I don't really care. Let's just call it ragu. Some people will also claim for pitfire that unless you do it in a pit, unless you dig a hole in the ground and make a bonfire, it's not pitfire. I think that's silly. Let's just call it pitfire, no matter how you actually build that fire. It doesn't matter if you do it in a hole in the ground, or you build it with stones, or you do it in an oil drum like I mostly do. To me, it's all pitfire. The essential of it is that we fire the pots in real live fire. And we use organic materials and salts and all kinds of things to create these beautiful colors. That is, to me, pitfire. No matter what sort of bonfire you make. We don't use any glazes. We don't use any expensive kilns. We just need an oil drum and a garden, and then you can create pots like this. I know you can learn this just by watching YouTube. I posted quite a few videos about this, but the fact is that it takes time. In my online course, I'm going to teach you step by step in less than 2 weeks how you can create pitfire pottery without the terrible mistakes that I had to go through. The cost of signing up to this course is actually less than what you would charge for just one of these pots, or what you would have to pay for it if you wanted to buy one from me or some other potter. If you sign up to the list today, you'll get it at half price. So usually it's $248, but today you can get it for $124. I hope to see you there.